end of the presentation is to start off on the user side, and then we should just go back to the deep tech. So the goal of this web app was to create a UI that was easy to read, clean, fairly simple to navigate. And for that, we decided to use the React Web Framework, which allows us to use reusable components or parts of the web app that we can use in other parts of the web app if, for example, we wanted to scale up or make the web app more complex. So we've taken that into account, and I know Daza touched on that on layers and applicability. So that was the reason behind using React. So here, what we have is the homepage for when a user logs in. And one thing that they see first is the sidebar that lists different sections. And the way we decided to organize these sections was based on what kinds of user actions we'd expect. So for this case, we'd expect documents and claims to be the most important types of things that would require a user's attention or action. So by going to the documents page, which actually we're already on the homepage, we see a table with listing all the different documents that have or haven't been signed. And you can see what date they've been added, who they've been signed by, their status, and we even have some functionality here that if you hover over, oh, that's really funny, Chromecast isn't actually showing me. I can just show you. Yeah, when you hover over these, it actually gives you a snippet of information, so you don't actually have to go through the process of opening the file. But when you do click on one of the files, let's go to mortgage application, it'll give you parsed JSON data, which we're receiving from the back end, and it displays it. It gives you content, it gives you the text content of the document, and what's not being shown here is the PDF or Word view, which would be on the right-hand side or somewhere that's easily accessible. So the user can evaluate both the written content as well as a PDF version of it. So once the user goes through the document, reviews it, and they decide they want to sign it, we've added a button that lets them sign. And obviously, we'd have something a little bit, you can't see the pop-ups either. Just a pop-up asking them to confirm. And the idea is that we walk them through the process, maybe possibly a series of windows that would kind of hold their hand while getting them to confirm the document signature. So, so once you complete that, you'd be able to go back to the documents table and see an updated column for date signed, signed by, and that would complete the flow for the document section. Now, for the claim section, if you go to the claim section, you see the same thing. One new thing that, that we've added here is verified by column. So for example, for verification of insurance, we have the date that it was added, who signed it. So in this case, Alice, our user, signed it. And we see here that it was verified by DCU. If we were to click on any one of these, we'd be taken to an individual claim section where we'd be able to see again, parse JSON data, as well as an important section here, statement of intent, that would require users to check off different statements of intents to ensure that they understand what it is that, that they're signing or sending.
So this one's like the consent-oriented, the consent to share the employment information.
To share it out.
In that case, yeah. And then it's a little different for each context. And so this is very customizable and extensible to the context that you have in terms of the notice or alert that a consumer would be expected to have seen and agreed to.
So in this situation, they would be certifying that they're going to, they know they want to share this, right? Do they have to share it explicitly, or are they sharing this to a distributed ledger where then it could be retrieved from there?
Well, I can say in this, the thing that you're seeing right here, the way that the assumptions were for this demo, first of all, you could do any of that. The assumptions we have here for purposes of showing you something that would work and that requires no other things to, like the ledgers that don't yet exist and so forth, is that to leverage the existing components you have for file sharing and for file storage for mortgage application lending. So like, show me the title of the house, show me the this and that, like all the stuff that you ask for. This assumes that you're leveraging maximally everything you currently do and layering this better capability on top of it and doing the right sort of like flow and integrations in the back end. I'm satisfied between me and Jason and Dan interrogating all of Caleb's people and Michael and the technical people and then now Sandbox Banking and understanding a little bit better about ways to get in and out of Fiserv systems. I think this is realistic. You could do a great deal more than that. So it could be more than a consent, basically, to go back to the lender that you're seeking a loan from to verify employment or the other things. They could absolutely put it onto a shared ledger and get bids, or you could do routing and other stuff however you want. And some of that will come out of when you see the technology demo with Christian and Cornell. I think you'll see some very exciting possibilities. Cool.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to show was a feature that would allow a user to create a document or create a claim attestation. So here we have a feature that lets us just quickly add a claim here, or we can add, for redundancy, we added also a create claim section. So when you go there, you can pick between many different claim types, and the idea is that once you click one, the form that will show will switch depending on the type of claim type that you choose. So here, this just gives you, for example, like if we choose address, we would see the address form that will allow the user to just put in their street, town, and choose their state, and then save that. And once that gets saved, you'd expect it to show here in the claims table. And that's about it, I think.
And may I add, so this is probably the first time you're seeing this, so just to play out the address one. So you have an existing workflow on home banking for people to update their address, like after you've done first day onboarding and account activation. If some things like address, in addition to like, I don't know, email preferences or other stuff, might be so important and so reusable and valuable that you might want it to be verified by you. So if that's where you're going to be sending the statements, if that's now like your confirmed address of the member, being able to make that a verified claim as well as one that the member signed is reusable at least across TCU, but then also TCU partners or other parts of their life. We believe could be helpful, and that's actually the value proposition driving this whole verified claim and secure key and DIF and on markets for this reusable aspect of like financial digital assets that you can put in the hands of people.
Can you help me understand that a little bit more? So, like verified by, I would suggest it would be USPS.
Sure.
Right? So we do a address match, right?
Yep.
And the data verified it's a deliverable address.
Agreed. May I offer on that one though? So, and I hear that a lot on address, and I know the people there pretty well, and like I've done several projects with them over the years on identity and with GSA and other folks and PKI and blockchain and a lot of SAML work and OAuth more recently, on and on and on, NSTIC. Sure. And like if and when there's other parties external to you that can verify things, a natural fit here. And we're assuming that absolutely for the employer when it isn't TCU. For example, that would be the workflow when you're the lender. Any that would adopt this, like ADP is the one that we selected because after your chat with Christian, Cornell, and I, we were talking about more like a B2B being a really sweet spot. We kind of talked it over a little bit and I've recomposed some of the assumptions so that we can imagine verification of employment could be a payroll company and you want integration, great many individuals there. But what's the thing I want to point out is that you don't have to wait for and hope for the USPS ever figuring this out or doing it this way or well or ever in order to indicate this is the address that we send a member of our credit union their statements at every month and that we have as an address for them. And one of the things that we think, which is to be proven in terms of like extended value of the blockchain, which we should get into in the discussion, is in addition to reducing cost, containing risk, and potentially having some new revenue for your existing business functions. The first adjacent business function out there, and the only one that's sort of part of the scope of what I'm showing you, would be the potential of reusability of some verified claims, because everybody thinks it's going to be big to let people reuse information about themselves, period. But then information that's been confirmed or verified by a third party, and you are a trusted third party in the relationship here. It's like, so this only assumes that you would be stamping it and that it would conform with where you send the statement. And then, but it's tailor-made for other people as well that could confirm it, or military or other people that have the current authoritative source of address for a person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see that through in regards to what the consumer does with it after it's been verified. So as an example.
I'm starting to do a lot with Amazon now on another different blockchain thing. And apparently they certainly are hooked up with USPS and a lot of other folks in terms of address for ship to and fraud. But I'll double check this, but my superficial understanding is if there was a structured blockchain like a modern verified claim way of like allowing like almost like a one-click integration from Amazon customers to indicate with their ship to address, that they would be very happy about that, and that it would be in tune with where their spend is right now to reduce fraud and to increase usability of the site so that you're not retyping stuff. So that would be one example.
So it goes to the notion of if a consumer could share their attributes out to a distributed ledger and make those accessible to others, right? As long as they're verified, then that's the power in it.
That's the underlying idea for the verified claims to third parties.
Okay.
Yeah, but none of that has to be true, and you don't have to accept any of it, I think, for the fundamental value proposition that we're doing. But it doesn't go without saying, because like that's the bottom of the idea for Distributed Identity Foundation, a whole bunch of stuff going on now. Mm-hmm. So I thought we should at least show you how you could explore that if you wanted to. I don't think you need to explore that to have a better experience and reduced cost using the technology just to do precisely what you're doing today. Yeah. Do you have more?
No, that was it.
Oh, I wish you kept going, because I love this work. So that's the UI and the UX, and it's understandable. And I don't know, speaking also as a DCU member, I would certainly use it. And so now, are you ready for technology?
Yeah.
And then
I get stuck. So that left nav, and you have the carrots that point to the right. Mm-hmm. Like, for whatever reason, our carrots and our online banking point to the left.
Oh, you're kidding me.
That heck out of me.
Oh, that's a very quick UI.
So you prefer this way?
I've gone back and forth with developers on this, and they're like, really, is that?
Actually, I didn't really talk about it, but just one quick thing. So they point to the right, but ideally, when you click on them, if there are subsections, like for example, if you wanted to create document section, you can click on that and then have that arrow turned down so that you can see that. Yeah, that was it's in the works.
What a handsome hue of green you have there, too.
It looks very familiar.
Delightful. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Are you ready? Ready for the technology?
I am.
All right. AKA the good line. Here come the goods. Okay. So I'm capturing this, so you'll get it later.
Okay. So on the left, we have the application running on my machine. Mm-hmm. And on the right side, there's the application running on Christian's machine. It's a screen share. Okay. So I'm going to focus on my application. At this point, this is the initial state of the application after you log in to provide your identity. And you have the possibility, in order to go through the entire flow, we're going to start by creating a new document.
So just sorry, the left is yours, I get.
Yes.
Is this a user or is this a back office person?
This could be anyone.
Anyone.
This is a general document signing application.
Okay.
And the fundamental basic idea, the way that we've gone back and forth many times, is you could assume when there's only two, there's a DCU staff person and a DCU member. When there's three, there's like a DCU member, probably a second DCU member and a DCU staff person, or possibly a non-DCU member.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to get my mind in the right place there. Okay.
So at this point, we have only two options when creating any document, but I'm going to show you the option where you provide the application with an industry standard, such as a form standard or actually schema. It's a schema where you provide the fields and types and the forms are getting generated automatically. So basically, you can take any industry standard, provide a schema, and everything will be generated automatically. This form is a proposal for vehicle sales agreement, and we're not going to focus on it. We just wanted to emphasize the fact that you can add any type of documents in a standard way in this application.
So you can think member agreement, promissory note.
We're going to go with a generic option of adding a new document. So for this option, we have the possibility to enter name. I'm going to call it DCO demo. Remember the name because we're going to seek in our application. And we have the recipients. So the recipient, you can enter as many recipients as you wish. There are comma separated values. For this demo purpose, I'm going to add only Christian, and the whole interaction is going to happen between me and him. Idiot. So I'm going to add 2 attachments. I have generic PDFs, so nothing already pre-filled. And I have a PDF sample and I have a bill of sale. After saving this document, you will notice that it appeared in my pending folder, in my drafts, sorry, not pending. And I can expand and see the complete summary of this document. And I can see the to whom I address the document, the attachments. I think that I can open it and preview it. So, and the payload, which is a Merkle root of the attachments. Okay, so from my point of view, I think this is okay. I'm going to send it to Christian. And you will notice that on the right side, the document was passed to Christian. So at this point, a copy of the document was sent to his machine.
Probably won't see this in the screen sharing because I'm only sharing one window, but I actually have the document that he sent. Okay. So this is, and now I might want to sign this document so that we can further along the transaction. So I've reviewed it and everything looks good, and I'll click on sign. Oops.
You have to click it again because the window is not.
There we go. Oh yeah. So notice that the signature was automatically propagated over to Cornell's app. And what you can see here, I'll explain this gibberish. It's probably not the best way to present it to a human, but it helps for the demo to explain the moving parts here. So we have a signature, and this happens to be signed with a set of blockchain keys, the blockchain key pair. And the key, what's a public key? This is actually a JSON-based certificate of the public key that is certificated by a party, presumably a financial institution or a credit union. We'll show you some more on that when we start talking about it. So we're covering the verifying, who's the, wow, it's really raining. Who's actually the owner of this key. And so now Cornell has this, and but we need him to sign it too. Oops, I don't want to.
Okay, so you notice that at this point, the document on my end, it's on pending because I'm the issuer of the document, and there is only Christian's signature. And for Christian, he's in inbox because he's not the issuer, and there is only one signature. So I can verify. I can see that Christian already signed it. And the next step in this process is for me to sign it. So after signing it, the document disappears from my pending folder. And
now it's in the signed documents, and we have 2 signatures on it.
Let's scroll down. Oh yes, 2 signatures.
If you put them side by side, you will notice the information is the same on both ends.
But we're not done yet because
so much more.
Because we have this signed document, but there's no record of it anywhere on a ledger. And so we have this ability to finalize. There's a little lag with my mouse, sorry about And so once I click on this, this is actually, this is going to add this thing.
No, it's.
Oh, it's in the signed loan document. Yep. Okay. This just logged this thing on Ethereum. So we've hashed the document and we've put it into a blockchain transaction. So this could be part of a financial transaction over blockchain, or it could be just recording it as a log entry.
Hashed it, put it on the blockchain.
Hash the document.
Yeah. With the signatures.
Or actually
Just-
hash the, we hashed the signed, not the PDFs themselves,
Right.
but we have a JSON data structure that is signed, and we've hashed that thing and put it on the blockchain.
And so, and part of the, so to be complete, yes, there's a hash of the PDF and plus the other metadata in the JSON web document, so that you could absolutely confirm a PDF like here, or litigation in 5 years, or an audit or something. You could rehash the PDF and then plus the other values in the JSON web document token and compare it to that on the blockchain and confirm its validity, exactly as we said we would do in the use case proposal.
So the principal value of doing that, there's two real values in doing that. One of them is that you have verification of a sequence of events. So like a timestamp, effectively a timestamp. So you can say, when did this thing happen? You can't get that without using some kind of a ledger, just us signing the documents. I mean, there could be clock skew, or there could be people changing the timestamps or things like that. But if you're logging it onto the ledger, you'll have a reasonably accurate ordering of events.
Trusted time.
Yeah. The other thing is that you can bind the document or the signature off the chain to a transaction on the chain. So if there's a dispute over what the payment was for, you'd be able to say, yes, this payment was really for to satisfy this contract. And imagine say the purchase of a vehicle and the money changes hands and there's a signed document, but the seller is saying, I didn't receive the money. The money that I got was for something else. It wasn't for the car.
Mm-hmm.
So putting this into the transaction gives you a way to verify, yes, this is really what the transaction was about.
And there is only one thing to mention here, is the activity feed.
Good.
So
Yeah. Speaking of evidence,
every action that happens in the interaction process is logged in an activity feed. And at this point, we display a really brief summary of what is happening, like the date, the time, the name, and the pairs that exchange the information. But we can add as many information as we need to this activity log. So this is.
and it's local, and you can also replicate it back to the
Yes.
PDS or share it.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Everybody
That's
apply.
great. So the UI that Alex shared would be overlaid on this, or?
Yeah, I
That's
think
the idea.
we didn't actually have time for that.
Yeah.
We came into it too late, and I think what would be great is if we could get.
Hold on, I'm going to just stop.